Hi there, this is Kirsty from Uploans, and tonight I was having a chat with a client and we were talking about her goal to build up a property portfolio. You can see from the smile on my face how much I love talking with people about that. We spent about half the meeting talking about her specific situation, but then, because you can't stop me, I went straight into, I guess, the pitfalls that people sometimes fall into when they are looking to build a property portfolio and some ways that she could look to avoid that as she started her portfolio. One of the things that I always think is like a super hack when you're looking at building a property portfolio is to get an amazing property manager on your side. So how do you know if they're an amazing property manager? Well, it all comes down to personal preference. And what I would say you want to do is you want to meet the property manager who is going to be actually looking after your property. So the bigger the company, the more there might be it's called a BDM usually, a business development manager, or some kind of almost like a salesperson for the property management team. That's the person that might come meet you, do the initial conversations with you. Their job is to sell you on that real estate agency looking after your hard-earned property investment. But if that's not the person who's actually going to be on the phone to your tenant if they're a day late with their rent, they're not the only person you want to speak to. I would always say, great, lovely to meet you, happy to chat with you, but before I make a decision, I want to know which individual human being is going to be responsible for my investment property. I want to talk to that person. Now, my personal preference for a property manager is somebody who is firm but fair. I don't need them to be my best friend. I don't need them to be warm and fuzzy and cuddly. I need them to be damn good at their job. I want them to have great attention to detail. A property manager, actually, let me give you an example. I once went on a holiday with two property managers and we picked up our hire car, and you could tell the difference between them as property managers and me as someone who at that stage worked in the property management business, but more in terms of a BDM role. We got the hire car and I had a cursory glance around the hire car and then sat down to go. And the two of them, I think they spent about 20 minutes detailing every scratch and mark and tiny little line around the hire car, because they were at their heart and their core very detail oriented property managers. I was just ready to go on holiday and they were like, no, we're doing this right. You want a property manager that would take 20 minutes with the hire car, detailing every little bit. So one way to see how detail oriented a property manager is to actually ask them for a copy of a condition report that they've done. That can show you how detail oriented they are, how many photographs are typically with their condition reports. You want to get into the nitty gritty of how well they're going to protect your property, so that when you get back that property, whether it's in 5 years time, 10 years time, 20 years time to sell it, it's been kept in relatively good order during that time. Questions to ask them: how do they select tenants? How do they do reference checks? Do they outsource that? Do they do that internally? Who's going to be responsible for that? And what sort of a breakdown am I going to get about these tenants before I'm given the decision as to whether to approve them or not? Another really, really good question to find out what kind of a property manager you're looking at is, what's your arrears percentage? Now, a property manager will know exactly what you mean when you ask that, but so that you know what you're asking, you want to know how many of their tenants are behind in their rent. Now, I used to be in the property management space myself. Zero arrears is the goal for great property managers, but not many of them get there. So you want to know what percentage of your tenants are in arrears at the moment. If it's a higher percentage, that's a really good indication that that might not be a person that is really following up tenants. I want a property manager that knows if my tenants are a day late with their rent and is on the phone or on email, on text to them, following them up, and hopefully putting in place so that it doesn't happen again in future. All right, last but not least, the best hack that you can have when looking for an investment property is to get a property manager on side. But my number one tip for you is, let's say you're going to buy a property through ABC Real Estate. You don't want ABC Real Estate's property manager. And I don't say that because I feel like that property manager is not going to give you an honest estimate, but there's a conflict there. The person who's selling the property is being paid by the seller of the property. Their job is to sell the property. So you don't just want to listen to the property manager from that company. You want an independent property manager to look at that property, and you want a property manager, I think, if you're looking at a number of properties, who's going to be able to look at that property online for you and say to you, oh, great area, close to this school, we'd get this type of tenant in there. Or even more valuably, I think you want the property manager that says to you, don't do that one, not a safe area, or there's a meth lab down the street, or, you know, I used to manage that property and there's actually damp coming up in the back corner. You want a property manager that's going to speak honestly with you. That is the best super hack that you can get. So we're looking for honesty, we're looking for firmness, fairness, and somebody that's going to be fairly responsive, because when you're looking for an investment property to buy, you kind of need to know pretty quickly in nearly every market in the country at the moment. Hopefully that's been handy. It's given you a little bit of a checklist to look for when you're looking for a property manager. Sometimes people think that they don't need a property manager, and this is where I have a huge bias because I come from a real estate background. I also deal with thousands of clients, and the predominance of people that have bad experiences with tenants, not all of them, but the large, you know, majority of them, they're self-managing their properties. There's a lot to be on top of. And there's a lot of, I guess, liability that you can open yourself up to if you self-manage. So the small amount that you pay a property manager, if you get a good one, with the responsibility that and the stress that they'll take off you and the work that they do and save you as far as being, you know, your time that you'd need to put into it, and by staying on top of market rental adjustments, a good property manager more than pays for themselves, both in dollars and in less stress. Good luck. I hope that you have excellent luck finding property managers. I'm very fortunate to have some great ones and to be able to refer some wonderful ones in my local area, and to be able to source ones for clients purchasing in different areas. So if you need any help, please reach out.